Welcome to Fear and Greed, the week ahead. I'm Sean Aylmer, and as always at this time on a Monday morning, I'm joined by economist Stephen Koukoulas. You'll find him at thekook.com and on X using the handle thekook. Stephen, good morning.
Good morning, Sean.
Well, it was kind of an interesting week It's always an interesting week in the economics world, but there was plenty around trade, retail trade, building approvals, house prices. It does seem that, the economy is not exactly rocketing along at the moment, Stephen.
It's not rocketing, but nor is it continuing to slow down, I suppose. The slowdown that I think we saw during the first half of 2024, and we know that the last two quarters, the March and June quarter GDP numbers will point to. But as you alluded to, retail sales in August, so the monthly nominal retail sales were decent, plus 0.7. The Bureau of Statistics said it could have been warm weather and an early Father's Day, plus, of course, the income tax cuts, which were paid during the course of July that boosted that number. So a decent result. Obviously, we want 2 months in a row to be confirming that there's a better trend there. Building approvals ticked down a bit after sort of trending up. But the interesting thing about building approvals is they're starting to rise, albeit from a horribly low base. And that sort of indicator, the house price series is slowing down, which is probably good for affordability in housing, construction, these sorts of things. So, as we sit here and now, it didn't really add or subtract a lot to the monetary policy debate. The Reserve Bank doesn't meet until Melbourne Cup Day, 5th of November, for those who aren't as clued into the racing calendar as I am. So it's still a month away, basically, to the next RBA board meeting. But for these numbers, they sort of would have been of a little bit of comfort to the RBA, but not really the ones that are going to make them change their mind on leaving rates steady for a while.
Now, talking about the RBA, we have a few speeches this week. What's interesting, we'll get the board minutes too, but they were before that monthly CPI figure, which was probably a bit softer than some thought. What do you think the Reserve Bank will say this week? Because everyone will be listening to hear some sort of language change around interest rates. Do you think we're going to get it?
We might. We've got the Deputy Governor, Andrew Houser, and a couple of the Assistant Governors giving talks on different parts of the economy. And if they want to send a message, they will. This is a great coordinated approach to just softening up the markets or the general population about any change in views that they had. And even though the minutes, as you quite rightly point out, came before the monthly inflation number was a bit lower than expected, so it probably won't include that much information. But the speeches, if the RBA is now of the view, they're looking at rate cuts around the world, they're seeing that slightly better news on local inflation, they're seeing, volatility in commodity prices because of geopolitical events, but generally tracking a little bit lower rather than a little bit higher. They might want to just sort of say, look, we're not about to cut rates. We're not going to cut rates tomorrow, but that hawkishness, that rate hiking bias that we had for the last few months is probably well and truly gone. That will probably come through in the minutes, as Michelle Bullock spoke about in her press conference after the last board meeting. And so the fact that consumer sentiment's still crook, the global economy's iffy, a lot of central banks are cutting interest rates around the world. It might just be a chance for them to just tweak market expectations a little more.
Interesting. We also get business confidence and conditions as well as consumer confidence this week, Stephen.
Yeah. Oh, look, I love these confidence surveys as you do, Sean, and because they're up to date. Like these will be for the month of September. So the surveys have been done literally in the last couple of weeks. So here we are relying on June quarter GDP data. We have got July, August, and this week we'll have September data for consumer and business confidence. Both are pretty weak. Consumer sentiment has found a bit of a floor. It's no longer deteriorating, but it's at a low level. Whereas business confidence, business conditions have been tracking a little bit lower in line with the weakening economy over the last little while. And importantly, I want to shout this from the rooftops, their price indicators, the expectations they have on selling prices, input prices, wages, which are all part of this inflation mix, will be arguably more important than the activity indicators because they've got a fantastic track record at picking these turning points up and down in the inflation momentum. So we'll be watching those surveys, even though you might not get the attention that you should get in the media. A lot of us economists will be watching them for any clues there.
Stephen, enjoy your week.
Thank you.
That was economist Stephen Koukoulas, better known as The Kook. You can find him at thekook.com and follow him on X using the handle The Kook. I'm Sean Aylmer, and this is Fear and Greed, the week ahead.